We're not worthy. 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 A show that, much like Mike Myers' movie career, was up into the Wayne's World and Austin Powers atmosphere and crashing down like the Love Guru and then ending on a high note. They didn't leave us hanging because we're not David Carradine on June 3rd, 2009, because one night in Bangkok made David Carradine crumble. Anyway, I'm John Renton with my review of AEW's Dynasty 2024. Yeah, they achieved their dynasty in the sense that Ospreay, Swerve, and Danielson had pretty much the match of the goddamn year, for being perfectly honest. Okada and Pac, they opened up the goddamn show pretty hot. And whose house? Swerve's house. Swerve is the first ever AEW African American World Heavyweight Champion. Now, there were other moments on this particular show, but yes, they were going to make sure that people left on a high note, just like River Phoenix on October 31st, 1993. Please forgive me for all the shit I'm going to say. But yes, they were in St. Louis, Missouri. Sam Muchnick might have been proud of some of this show, possibly, maybe. He's been dead for a while, so I don't know. I'm not going to dig him up and bring him back to life, at least not until the device is complete. So, yeah, the capacity for this particular arena was just over 10,000. They had around 6,700 people according to WrestleTix, and you know what? I gotta give props to the crowd in St. Louis. They were really goddamn electric, but let's just move on with it. 0 Hour, hosted by Renee, who forgot her pants for some reason, not that I was complaining, in RJ City. So, the Bucks showed up in a Cybertruck, and I was hoping they would malfunction like some of the other Cybertrucks, but I digress. The world does not need the Bucks. The wrestling world or the world in general. So, Trent took on Matt Sydal, and I like Matt Sydal. Trent's kind of a fucking idiot, and if I cared one bit about either of these guys, even though I met Sydal at an indie show a number of years ago, nice guy, and you know what? Honestly, like, he can work, but this is a Rampage main event on a pre-show. I mean, I'm sorry. Meteora for 2. There's like an arm trap something or other for the win. Trent got with a flat submission finish. Was what it was. And then Matt Sydal's brother Mike, who I forgot also wrestles, was there. And then Chuck Taylor shows up and he's conflicted. I'd be conflicted too if I was earning a paycheck for doing fuck all of shit for the last 5 years. So then Shibata with his new brain and Orange Cassidy took on Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty. Anthony Monster Agogo was on commentary. And 12 minutes later, Cassidy pinned Lee Moriarty. I took this opportunity to actually do some spring cleaning, because I don't want to watch an Orange Cassidy match, especially on the 0 Hour. I'm sorry. Those that like him, that's fine. I don't. So, the caster rap didn't work at all. I did watch some of Collision, and you know what? I don't think the guy has it anymore. I really just don't think he does. So the Acclaim took on the Gang Bang Gang, so that was Bowens and Caster and Daddy Ass, Billy Gunn. And then we have the Gun Boys and Jay White with his bat that he demands you grip and pull on until the switchblade goes off in your face. So it was a trios unification match for the meaningless Ring of Honor trios titles and the equally meaningless AEW trios titles. Remember the titles that the Bucks and Omega came up with just so they could have matches and do stuff and everything and all this bullshit and whatever. The crowd was into it. Billy looked like a giant in the goddamn ring. You fucked up, Chance, when one of the Guns tried to get their dad from behind. It is Missouri, so I wouldn't put it past some people. I love the people of Missouri, but there are some weird places there, or so I've heard. So, Famouser, mic drop, then a Blade Runner, 1, 2, 3. That's it for the 0 Hour. JR comes out for the first part of the main show. By the first part, I mean the first match. Then he came out for the main event. With the amount of health issues that JR has had, and I'm glad he's gotten over them, I'm amazed he had any wind left by the time the first match was done. Pyro, at their video package, the crowd was loud. These are the kind of arenas they should be running for some of their mid-level pay-per-views. They're running an arena about this size for Dynamite in just under a month in Everett. They ain't going to draw 6,700 people for that, unfortunately. It's Okada, the heel Okada, against Pac or his contractually obligated match every 100 goddamn days. Look, I love how Pac works, because when he's not going to the top and taking 5 years, the guy can hit good kicks. He's good on the mat. He doesn't really make a lot of sense on the goddamn mic, but he just has that intense look. And I love Okada. And when Okada is a heel away from the goddamn Bucks, it's great. Ding! So, it's the Intercontinental Championship match. I'm sorry, the Incontinental Championship match. Big pop for Okada. No outside interference. Which wouldn't be something that would stick in my craw, shall we say. Except that just means we could actually not have any outside interference, but we can't actually focus on having a proper show. So I had to make it like, oh, it's no interference here. Anyway, so Pac, he focuses on the shoulder. There was some good work here. This actually was a pretty hot opener. Big superplex, they call it a brainbuster. I mean, whatever it is, what it is. A DDT on the floor, the Pac sells, and his just bulging vein was throbbing out of his head. And then Okada, just firing up, enjoying himself here. There's Let's Go Bastard chants. Apparently Maury Povich needs to be brought back in to determine who the father is. Again, Missouri. So, some of them in the backwoods towns probably are upset. Which sibling is it that is the father of their child? I don't know why I decided to pick on the people of Missouri, because there's so many good people there. Maybe it's the government. Yeah, there we go, the state government. So, stupid no-selling. That was a recurring theme here. I mean, I understand adrenaline burst, but I don't buy it when it happens so many times on every single show. This is across WWE, AEW, and especially New Japan. So, there was, there was no Rainmaker pose. Okada just did this. I'm going to be the number one heel. And there's a German for 2, a Black Arrow that totally misses. A roll-up for 2. And then the Poodleizer, as I call it, because I like to have fun, even if nobody else cares. And right in the eye, we get a Rainmaker eventually. 1, 2, 3. Good opener. Good opener. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. Applause to Pac. Don't know why I said applause so weird. He's our bastard chance. Shivani comes back for the rest of the show, mainly. I like Shivani, don't get me wrong. I just think with as many announcers as they have, Big Show, or Paul White, have him out there. Have Mark Henry. Have other people out there and rotate people. Ian Riccaboni, Caprice Coleman. They can't have Kevin Kelly there because Kevin Kelly, as Ernie Ladd once said about King Kong Bundy, dumbed yourself right out of position. So the House of Black, Matthews, Malachi, and Brody against the Adam Copeland, Kingston, and Mark Briscoe. Referee Rick Knox. So why have a referee at all? I don't care if he's a nice guy. This guy does not deserve to be a referee on a nationally televised program. He is rotten. He's only there because he's the Bucks' friend. He's not any good at his job. Anybody could get in there. They could pull somebody off the goddamn street. They could pull somebody out of a coma, and they would be better than Rick fucking Knox. And if Rick Knox happens to be at the Dynamite taping, maybe some people will tell him that, so they can shame him and say, go home, you corpse. So, everybody just does everything. I mean, this was like a Collision main event, just without the cohesion. It was what it was. There's a storyline because Malachi has been targeting the Adam Copeland. I started calling him that for reasons. And Briscoe has been targeted by the House of Black. Kingston's also there because he used to have 3 titles, now he has 1. It's a New Japan Strong title. At least Mark Briscoe won the same title that his brother did, and that's great. But yeah, they just do a bunch of stuff and then eventually missed. And the Black Mass, or the end. How did I get here? The end. If anybody knows what that's from, I love you guys. Yeah, the Adam Copeland got pinned by Malachi Black. There's your next program. Imagine heading into Double or Nothing. I also want to take a quick side note here, and even as somebody that is doing well for themselves, pays my bills, and is fortunate enough to have the luxury to order these pay-per-views, they need to get a streaming service of some variety, something that even if you got to pay a $20, premium, if you pay for the streaming service and got to pay an extra $20 on top of that per month or whatever for the pay-per-view, I'd be okay with that, but paying $50 a pop in the U.S., that's fucking ridiculous. I know there are people in the UK and other markets that pay less, and that's great for you guys. You guys absolutely deserve that for staying up so goddamn long and so goddamn late to watch these things live. But it's fucking bullshit. And Khan needs to work on this stuff because running more pay-per-views when the ratings have been dwindling and the pay-per-views at that time, you could have cut a couple of these matches off, even though people could miss out on a pay-per-view payoff. They're all on guaranteed fucking money anyway. You could have ended the show an hour before you did. That being said, Willow then took on Julia Hart. Julia Hart may or may not be injured. She hasn't taken any bumps really recently. And TBS title, the rule that Willow came up with is Sky Blue and Chris Statlander were banned from ringside. Maybe it was that, she said Sky Blue is banned from ringside, and Julie said, okay, Statlander's banned from ringside. They had Stokely on commentary. They needed to give him 2 booster seats just so he could kind of peek over the top of the announcer's table. No rope breaks, 20 count instead of 10. You know what? It wasn't bad. It was quick. Willow was dominant with strength, and Julia was mounting and topping her and everything. And then we got a doctor's mom. 1, 2, 3. And Mercedes was watching backstage. And then Mercedes shows up. So new TBS champion, and then Mercedes steps all over what Willow accomplished. This is what was going to happen. And Mercedes beating Willow would certainly be interesting. I don't know if the bloom is off the rose with Mercedes, and I know they're trying to build up anticipation for her wrestling. I got to be perfectly honest here, guys. I don't know if Mercedes is worth the investment. You can say that about a lot of people because she didn't move the needle. Look at what her debut did. Didn't really spike things up all that much. She has her fans, but the promos are scripted. We're going to be at about 2.5 months by the time we get to Double or Nothing. She will have not touched the ropes yet. As far as running the ropes, doing a match, something. I mean, granted, we still have 5 weeks until Double or Nothing, but nevertheless. And then we get Kyle O'Reilly versus Roderick Strong for the International Incident Championship. They worked hard. They worked really hard, and I didn't give a fuck. It's not that these guys aren't talented. This is having a really good wrestling match. This kind of reminds me of what Eddie and Jericho did at one pay-per-view in WCW, and I don't remember if it was Super Brawl or what it was. I can't remember if it was Super Brawl. It was something where they were having a great match and nobody cared. And there were moments that, the crowd was into it. They were trying to get into it. The thing is, they popped for Willow. They have no reason to care about this. The whole Undisputed Kingdom thing has not been great. We got some nice counters and some backbreakers, and then eventually Mr. Wardlow showed up, and apparently he was in a really bad car accident. He tweeted about, thankfully he's okay. A little bit banged up. He didn't really do much, which is fine as long as he's all right. And then the End Her Tartache, I know what it's called. It's funny to me, so I don't care. 1, 2, 3. Roderick Strong retains another championship that doesn't really fucking matter, in all honesty. And then Bennett and Taven bring Cole out in the wheelchair, and Cole stands up, so Cole is at least healthy enough to walk. That's good. Maybe he'll be back in time for Double or Nothing to wrestle, but you know what? I'm really worried that the next time Cole steps in the goddamn ring, something catastrophic is going to happen. He doesn't look healthy. He has not been moving well. He wasn't even moving well before the concussions and then the ankle stuff, so I'm afraid that the injury bug has bit him, latched onto him like a fucking tick, and it's not going to let go. But at least he's able to walk again. That's good. That's a positive. And then he gave a look to Mr. Wardlow like, you're just waiting for your contract to run out, aren't you? And then Hook took on Jericho in easily the worst match on the show. FTW rules, FTW title match. Okay, look, here's the thing. I expected Jericho to win. I said as much in my predictions. I don't have a problem with Jericho winning, or at least I wouldn't if Jericho was beneficial to this company in any way. Now, I don't even mean personally. I just mean look at his work. He can't fucking move. He has to have these matches full of weapons where he can go at his own fucking pace because he can't go because he's drank himself into a fucking stupor. He might as well go on tour with Fozzy for the next 2 years. Khan will pay his contract anyway. Who has benefited from working with Chris Jericho? Genuine question. Moxley, you could say, did. That was over 4 years ago. And then the pandemic happened, which I blame Chris Jericho for. No, in all seriousness, I don't think that anybody has benefited working with Jericho. MJF didn't. MJF had the claw, fight, and scratch. He's the only one that's been able to get back any semblance of getting the Jericho stench off of them, the Jericho Vortex stuff, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I mean, Adam Cole, that was fucking terrible. Not that Adam Cole necessarily was doing great after that feud with Orange Cassidy. Ricky Starks completely cooled off. He wasn't anywhere near this goddamn pay-per-view. They had other people on this. I mean, not that I wanted to see Hook versus Starks. It would have been better than this. But Fozzy sucks, chance. There was an FTW trash can lid. And also, if I want to get personal, Jericho's a fucking goddamn crackpot, so's his stupid wife. And I hope their children abandon them and they die alone afraid. In a ditch for all I care. So that being said, we just got stupid spots because it's another trash-filled match. Please retire, Chance. Go home, Jericho, Chance. And it's not whatever did or didn't happen with Kylie Ray. I don't know, and I'm not saying I don't care, but I'm not even factoring that in. They don't want to see this motherfucker anymore. And this is St. Louis. St. Louis, it usually can be a pretty forgiving crowd, and these are the diehards. The people that are going to AEW shows are the ones that are willing to pretty much go to any of their shows. Plunk down the money and support the wrestlers they like. Nobody wanted to see Chris Jericho on this goddamn show. He eventually hit a bunch of Judases and got the bat, and then hit Hook with the bat, and Taz is all upset, and Jericho's like, I'm sorry, and won a title that doesn't mean anything. So it's not even about him beating Hook for a title. Hook wasn't going to benefit even if he beat Jericho. The crowd probably would have been like, oh, thank God we can move on from this, but Starks beat Jericho on the first Dynamite of 2023 that I was at. And how long did that feud go? It went for another couple months, and Ricky was more cooled off than ever. Hook is still cooled off. And Hook is basically ice cold. If his contract is up soon, he's going to the Performance Center. Taz will probably go with him. And they'll be losing out on a bright goddamn star, and Tony will have Jericho there, who is benefiting nobody. Absolutely fucking nobody. He can't go anymore. He can't do anything. At least nothing beneficial. He is worse than Hogan was in WCW. And I'll explain this. Hogan did eventually put some people over. I'm not saying he put him over in the right way. He put over Goldberg on goddamn television. Oh, Jericho put over Action Andretti. Where the fuck is Action Andretti? Where was he after 3 weeks? Exactly. Where I'm just asking, throwing questions out here. Where the fuck was he? He was on the Collision. He was on a Collision show. I believe the Collision show last night, if I recall correctly, and he hasn't meant anything. It hasn't even... What the fuck, has it even been a year? No, it's been just over a year, actually. It was sometime in 2022, I believe. If I recall correctly, because Action Andretti did show up at the Dynamite that I was at. The whole point is, nobody has benefited working with Chris Jericho, and it's been terrible. It has been terrible, and has pretty much killed the goddamn show. Even though the crowd really tried to get back into it, the women brought them back. We had Nigel on commentary. And I understand that Nigel's supposed to be a heel commentator, and I like Nigel's commentary, but I hate to say it, when he decides to try and lead too much into Jesse the Body Ventura stuff, or the other heel stuff, it doesn't work, and it actively takes away from the show. And I say the same thing about Corey, said the same thing about JBL. He probably hates Bryan because Bryan couldn't come back for Wembley. Where Nigel was going to have a comeback match or have one more match. Years after he pretty much, after his career pretty much had to end because of whatever. So, Thunder Rosa versus Timeless Toni Storm. Mariah May is out there dressed like she was going to go to some kind of Pleasantville picnic, and Luther, for some goddamn reason, is still getting paid. AEW Women's Championship match, and I love Thunder Rosa. What a fucking talent. Toni Storm with the... weird, Buster Keaton-like look. I don't know what it is. Thunder Rosa looks great. With or without makeup, she looks incredible. She can work. Toni can work. These two took it seriously. They were working hard. This match actually was given a reasonable amount of time, at least somewhere around 15 minutes, or thereabouts. And the crowd chanted for both. I would have loved to have seen Thunder Rosa win. I unfortunately felt she wouldn't. English, hard for me. Back and forth, action for a bit. Then Toni focused on the back, previously injured back. Thankfully, Thunder Rosa is back after having to rehab that whole back. A crucifix bomb, an apron, Death Valley driver. I'm not sure why, but at least it was in a championship match. And then a backstabber. And she was piecing some moves together. Tony was it. Nice fisherwoman suplex. 1-2 kick out. Sky high for 2. Strikes some back and forth. Deonna comes out and Mariah May just takes a really hard bump, hitting her face right on the apron. And then Luther stumbles around like an idiot. And then Tony and Deonna fight off. They just fight off over there, seemingly disappearing, never to be seen again. Until Monday. Until Wednesday, that is. And Thunder Rosa gets a clutch. We go to the apron, and then Tony just kicks her right in the you-know-where, which would hurt. It would hurt. It's in the groin still. It would hurt. And then the Storm Zero, 1, 2, 3. So Tony gets the victory, has to cheat to win as a heel should. It made sense. And at least Tony and Thunder Rosa treated it seriously, unlike what Jericho fucking did. So great. And hopefully Thunder Rosa gets more of a shot. I hope she's at the Dynamite that I'm going to be at in just a month. And hopefully, because unless they just totally run me off from supporting the promotion before, when, there's going to be a few more decisions Tony could make that's going to make me question what the fuck he's actually doing. I hope that Thunder Rosa is going to be at Wrestle Dream at the Tacoma Dome. Because if tickets go on sale and I'm actually able to swing that, and I plan to, I'm going to go there, even though it's fucking Tacoma. If anybody knows anything about Tacoma, it's a terrible city. Barely a city. Needs to be fucking cleaned up. Anyway, let's move on from that. Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm, though. Good shit. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. And you expect me to encapsulate this match in a review? Here's how I'm going to encapsulate it. The crowd cheered before the fucking bell rang. The crowd cheered at the bell. And the crowd pretty much exhausted themselves. They still had energy by the end. I don't know how. The crowd must have gotten 5-hour energies and taken them before this. And they must have just been on the high. Like Tal Bachman. That's a deep cut reference. Does anybody know who the fuck Tal Bachman is? Because she was so high above me. She's so lovely. Wait, that's back to Thunder Rosa. Let's move on. Ospreay and Danielson had the match of the goddamn show. They probably had the match of the goddamn year, if we're being perfectly honest. Even though I watched some New Japan, and nothing compares to what they fucking did here. Ospreay is not going to be walking by the age of 40. He'll probably be drinking out of a straw. Either a straw that's put in his mouth, or a straw that is in his fucking throat, like Eric Stoltz in Anaconda. Lots of 1997 references here for no goddamn reason. But Callis, unfortunately, was on commentary. Good thing he was nowhere near the women's locker room. There were fucked on Callis chants. Look, let's not say we didn't. Let's send him back to Canada. And I know there are Canadian people that follow here. But y'all need to take one of your own back. Because he's an idiot. And a piece of shit. There's a reason why Scarlett and Cross can't talk about shit that happened in Impact. And he skated on it. And Khan knows it. And Khan doesn't care. That being said, these two cut a hell of a goddamn pace. Ospreay was hitting and running. Danielson was working as a heel. Because even though they like Danielson, they do. It's impossible not to like Bryan Danielson. Even though he continues to do a diving headbutt. But this guy twist outside. The drop kick in the corner. Staring up at the spotlights. The double underhook. Or the double underhook, jerk, like throw, where it's, Ospreay basically lands on his goddamn neck. Because again, he wants to be drinking out of a straw. Os cutter on the apron. We're not worthy. Do. That's a new chant. I haven't heard that one before. Bravo, St. Louis. I can't wait for every other crowd to prostitute the hell out of that goddamn thing like we're back in Tacoma. Anyway, so then we get counters aplenty. La Mystica, but to the ropes. And we just keep going back and forth. What a fucking match is what I'm saying so goddamn far. And then the Bukkake knee for 2. Kicks, a trap, a Styles clash. The headbutts where they're boom, boom, booming. Stop with the headbutts, please. If you care about your brains. See, Jericho can do that because Jericho doesn't have a brain. But then we get, we get the spot. I can't believe they timed it like this. But it looks like Ospreay's going to go for the Os cutter after hitting the hidden blade. And then Danielson hits the knee basically to his shoulder and head. It's actually incredible that he managed to hit that. The crowd's fucking popping here. And then Danielson got hit with the blade and got hit with that weird Tiger Driver 91, I think is what it's called. And then another hidden blade, 1, 2, 3. The doctors were checking on Danielson. I hope Danielson was just really, really selling. I really hope he was. Because he was swearing up a goddamn storm. Please wrestle at least Wrestle Dream so you can have your home state send you off. And then go and just go be a family man. He doesn't need to do this shit anymore. What a fucking match. And then Bucks and FTR had a ladder match for the vacant tag titles. There were brief CM Punk chants. The Dax bled. The Bucks did a bunch of shit to prove that they still can, but they've never been able to wrestle or do anything crisp in their lives. All these bumps in a match that meant absolutely fuck all of shit. And then a please be careful chant. Jack Perry shows up, causes a distraction, and then he's taken through the cut because, oh, he doesn't work here. I think everybody and their mother and their mother's mother and their mother's brother knew that Jack Perry's going to show back up. That'll put butts in seats. Ha. And yeah, the Bucks won. So, Swerve came out and somebody had to tell me it was a Black Panther outfit. Apparently the robe was from Jimmy Rave, who passed away and was well respected by longtime indie and during his brief TNA run. Or is him and Lance Hoyt, a.k.a. Lance Archer, as the Rockin' Rave Infection? It was Rockin' Rave something. I remember Christy Hemme looked good in it. So, nice tribute to Jimmy Rave. Somebody had to tell me it was Black Panther because, kill me in the comments, I have not seen Black Panther. I'm sorry, I haven't. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. I'm superheroed out. Also, I have a lot of movies to watch, like stuff on the Real Honest Movie Reviews playlist that you can check out. But nevertheless, Swerve took on Samoa Joe. AEW World Title match. Would Swerve be able to do it, or were Tony Khan basically shit the bed? I had the idea that maybe they could have done a fluke finish and had Swerve win in Everett in front of his home state crowd, because Everett is far away from Tacoma. Everett's still a fucking ridiculous city. Boy, is it ever. Not that my city's much better. That's why I'm glad I live 4 miles outside of it. But nevertheless, I'm glad they didn't, because I would have been in front of an infinitely smaller crowd, not just as far as ratings, but as far as attendance. Because I don't think they're going to get more than 5,000 people in that 10,000 seat arena, and that's being generous. It starts hot. Swerve kept going for it, but Joe eventually got to where he was dominating him. Hit the snap slam on the concrete outside. Swerve focused on the arm to take away the chance at the coquina clutch. But he was still able to hit a muscle buster, Joe was, but only got a 2 count. It was after some short arm scissors, some focus, and a stomp for 2. And then, the choke got locked on, but Swerve had to basically fight out and get the thumb in there. This is my time. Nang. And then he hit a house call for 2. He tried to, I think, hit a stomp where Joe was going to lay down, be caught up in the ropes. And then they realized, no, that's probably going to kill Joe. So let's not do that. He hits a powerbomb, another stomp, 1, 2, 3, big pop. I did see that they posted the post-match where the ref handed him the towel, said, you deserve it, or you earned it. And you know what? Swerve did. First African-American World Heavyweight Champion, AEW. And honestly, Kofi Mania is way up here. And I'm just talking about staging and everything. And the moment. Lightning in a bottle. Swerve winning is a big deal. I just fear they're going to have him lose it to Adam Cole, baby, at Double or Nothing, and nullify the whole goddamn thing. Unless MJF returns, and then they just have him and Cole feud, and maybe you have something to lead us into the summer. But you know what? Swerve as world champion, good stuff. You know what? It had its ebbs and flows. It had its issues. Hook and Jericho, FTR and the Bucks were the 2 low points. That's nothing against FTR. And there were a couple other matches that could have honestly just been on television, all due respect to the performers. This was probably about an hour longer than it needed to be. But it had a hot crowd and it had its good moments. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.